What do you think happens with Ben Simmons?
I think obviously it's very clear if Ben comes back, that's gonna be awkward. Okay, let's just give this situation that he's asking for, and see what happens. Give him to figure out a way in which you can set him up in a right situation for himself, but also a better situation for yourself, as well as a team, and just move forward. Cut the ties. Damn, this is a toxic relationship.
You can't go back. It's one of those.
You can't go back. This
you
is
literally
toxic.
cannot walk back in that school after
toxic.
You pranked your teacher like you did. Hey guys, welcome on into Drinks with Banks. I'm Julie Stewart-Banks. It's been an exciting week in sports so far. We had the College Football National Championship, Georgia beating Alabama. We've got the NFL playoffs, and of course, we've got the NBA heating up. We saw Klay Thompson come back to the Warriors. The last time he played was against the Toronto Raptors in the NBA Finals. And let me tell you, I still cannot believe that the Raptors won the NBA Finals. Feels like a fever dream, but everything has gone kind of crazy for the Raptors since then, losing Kawhi and Kyle Lowry and playing in Tampa Bay and now playing with no fans in Canada. And to help us get some more insight into the Raptors and the NBA season and to tell us more about her groundbreaking career, I'm very excited to welcome on fellow Canadian TSN broadcaster, host, and executive producer of The Shift, Kayla Gray. Kayla, thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on everything you have accomplished.
Oh, thank you. And here I am going to bring the bad news of all the things Toronto, as we are still in this lockdown. Cheers.
Continuous lockdown. Cheers. And what do we have here?
I'm having a nice spicy margarita. No judgment zone. I tried to be real cute too. I had like a little sliver of jalapeno, nice little spicy salted brim. I know how you guys do on your podcast, so I tried to come correct.
That is really fancy. I love that. And I was going to go mocktail, but then I was like, no, I got to bring the sauce.
No.
I got a little something in here too. So cheers to you.
Cheers.
And
oh, that's good.
I should have mixed that one in. But let's get going. It's 10 a.m. on a Wednesday. We're Canadian.
I was about to say, do they know it's 10 a.m.?
All right. So Kayla, so we're shooting on this on a Wednesday. Raptors just coming off the loss to Phoenix last night. Some great video on Twitter just of the fact that there's no one at Scotiabank Place and the mascot's still going. The big inflatable Raptor guy is making his rounds around. What has it been like broadcasting? Let's just start with this season for the Raptors.
Yeah, I don't even know how to explain to people the mental toll that comes with, you have a team, they've played in Tampa, finally they come back to a full capacity arena. So that first day, it's been 600 days since, 18,000 fans have seen their home team watch their home team on their home court. And it was like one of the wildest days ever because there's energy, there's music, there's vibes, there's all these things. And then we slowly watch it go to half capacity, and then we watch it go to nobody. And it's just sad. It's not that it's dead. I think that, the team itself, they do a really good job of finding ways to inspire themselves and to get that energy. And actually, it's been a really weird season where they've done really well on the road to start, and then they started sort of picking things up at home in December, but now they're in a flow and there's nobody at home to watch them in said flow, so now they're heading out on the road, right? But I think from a broadcasting standpoint, this, like, the level of energy, like, you have to be on. And, I think I take for granted when you're around so many different people, that kind of feeds into that energy that you want to bring on camera. And so you almost have to, like, find your own energy in that way. And so, yeah, I got to be honest. Like, when I get home, I'm like zonked because it's just like you're trying to manufacture a vibe and energy and still kind of deliver to the audience as well.
Can completely relate as someone who's been broadcasting from home for almost 2 years. But you do mention how has been different for the Raptors and that they've found ways to continue on despite sort of the adversity and the different circumstances. What stood out about how they have handled the ups and downs of having no fans there, being in Tampa, just all these different circumstances that no one else has had to deal with that maybe has made them a better team? Yeah,
I think that I'm always in awe of is the young guys and the buy-in. This is a team that wants to establish a winning culture here, that does, get hung up on losses as teams should, but just wants to show up at the best capacity when it comes to what quality they put onto the court. Obviously that's led through Fred VanVleet. And I think what helps is you have Fred, you have Pascal, you have OG players, and even Gary too, that know the Tampa experience. And it's like, they don't want to go back to Tampa. They don't want to go back to not having that. And I think when they were struggling at home, there was heavy frustration. And I think the players weren't even quiet about it. Like, you don't take these moments and this energy for granted. And then I think the young guys really started to understand exactly what that meant. And then ever since then, there's just been this level of buy-in. And I think everyone has sort of elevated their game in a way. I think obviously we have Scotty Barnes, who is going to be a superstar in this league. But for him, the buy-in of trying out different positions. Now he's kind of one of those players that is taking up the ball up the court, right? And handling the point guard role at some times. And he's a rookie, and he's embraced that, and he's risen to the challenge, and he's more than delivered. Now, I'll also say, of course, as you know, Julie, we've gone through it with our health and safety protocols. At a point, there were like 10 players in health and safety protocols. Yeah. And now that they're on the back end of that, so, for people to change up positions like Pascal, Scotty, that was almost out of necessity, but it's worked out so well, and that's what's helping them win now.
Right. And for those who don't know, like, Ontario had different health and safety protocols that were different from what the NBA health and safety protocols were. So the Raptors had to go through something completely different than the rest of the league. We saw them win in 2019. There was no respect put on them ahead of time. I remember it. I remember watching Stephen A. being like, the Bucks are going to play the Warriors in the NBA Finals. I will never forget that, because I was like going to punch my TV. What have you, I know the team has changed a lot since then, but what have you noticed in terms of how people maybe respond to the Raptors around the league? Is there a different level of respect, or are the Raptors still kind of considered this underdog random Canadian team?
Yeah, I think they might like to be considered that, because it only helps when you're like out on the court. It gives you this like energy of like, oh yeah, y'all don't want to pay attention to us. Cool. We gonna drop this on you, right? I think maybe sure that's how they might inspire themselves. But listen, at the end of the day, I think what always surprises me is like talking heads who like to tell on themselves because they don't watch the Raptors. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, how can you say that, but you can barely pronounce 5 of the players' names? So you're letting me know that you don't even take in their basketball. But what's interesting is when I connect with players on different teams around the league, when they come in Toronto, they're like, nah, this group's for real. Like, we see something. And I think it's something to be said for like, people in basketball, like truly understanding basketball and understanding that, yeah, sure, they might be like in a different country, but that's still a bona fide NBA professional team. And you can't take teams like that lightly. You can't take teams that win lightly, because at the end of the day, they still have Pascal, they still have Fred, they still have Nick Nurse, at the helm. So, as much as there were pieces lost, there were also pieces gained, and I think that's what people might underestimate, is the work that comes with winning. And when you get a taste of it, I think the hardest part is continuing to win. And I think that's why they get so on themselves, is it's like, okay, we've seen that we can do it now. So how do we like build that consistent winning culture? And I think that's why Masai has never left, because the one was never enough. And I think that's what makes this such a good group, is one ring is not enough.
Interesting. And the fact that it was with Kawhi that was there, that was sort of like that rental piece. Like, maybe do you think Masai wants to sort of prove he can do it without getting a superstar like that at the last second?
Yeah, and I think even Kawhi would tell you it wasn't just him, right? I think too, like, I'm not going to sit up here and be like, oh my gosh, Kawhi was just like a little small piece. That's not the case. Kawhi was a big piece of this team winning. Let's be very clear about that. But I think what will also happened was he was drawing so much double coverage, like so much double teams and so much attention on the defensive end, that it would free up a guy like Pascal to go off. And then Fred even had his own game. And then, of course, you got Kyle, who's not new to this. He's true to this. And so I think that for Masai, when you're building a team, he's always development first. So, as now there's other teams that are trying to buy into the G League system, Masai has always been G League development first. And so you're seeing, I think people forget Fred, Pascal, so many guys were in the G League system. Chris Boucher was in the G League system. And then look where they're at now. And I think when you have an emphasis on development, that's what shows up, later. That's what's going to give you your flowers later. And so I think for him, it's about how do we almost make this pipeline where it's like, you kind of build something where you don't really need to, you do have to maintain it, but you don't have to put so much thought into it because good is still coming. Good is still on the way. You don't have to worry about where you're going to get your next good guy because they're being developed in your house.
As we look ahead to NBA trade deadline, what are you most sort of like interested in seeing develop in terms of storylines around the league?
Ooh, oh my gosh. I feel like we had such a weird NBA season. I was like, wait a second. There was a point, Washington was the top of the East. I'm like, not a single person that I talked to would have picked that team to be, doing as well as they've been doing. Memphis, all of a sudden, 10 games in a row. Like, I think there's just so many things. And then also, too, and it's not to say that I'm one of those people that's going to just rag on officiating. But I feel like we were introduced to a brand new NBA at the start of the season. Obviously, there was emphasis on different types of officiating. Players didn't like it. Some players did. It was a lot more physical. Obviously, I would also say that there was overemphasis on certain calls because I think they were just trying to establish a new rule set, which is natural. But we were almost given like a couple of months of like, dude, what the heck is this? Like, what are we right now as a league? And then you get the big O word of opportunity with health and safety protocols. So you're getting guys up 10 days, you're getting new faces that you're seeing. And, you're almost like, whoa, like, I didn't know this guy still had it like that. Like, we got to figure out a way to like work him in or not. And so I think as teams start to get back healthy, we'll then start to see, okay, what do they need? And is this out of some desperation need because health and safety protocols, obviously the NBA is now changing their health and safety protocols, how long you have to, isolate, be away from the team, test into whatnot. I almost guarantee that that's going to change again. And so I feel like a lot of GMs, a lot of front offices around the league are just like, let's just like wait and see. Let's just wait and see. I don't think anyone's pushing the panic button yet on moves because there's just been so much going on. They're like in the middle of a pandemic like the rest of us, like, let's just all wait and see. When's the next strain? What's that called? It's like, we're all just like going with the motions. Everybody's living in the now.
What do you think happens with Ben Simmons?
Oh Lord! Oh, but I mean, for Doc Rivers' mental health, I hope something. I hope clarity. I was in Philly when we were there, and obviously reporters have to do their job. I'm one of them, so I can't even like talk too much. But I'm just like, bro, every single day this guy is being asked, "Where is Ben?" And I think as a coach who just is like, yo, we're just trying to get on with it with the guys that we have, it has to be frustrating. As a team, you just want to get on with it and build what you got to build. And I talked to Danny Green, actually, and he was like, listen, we can only as players control what we want to control. And why I thought Danny would be a perfect person to talk to is, remember when Danny Green was with the Raptors after that championship run, there was a lot of wait and see with what he would do because of what Kawhi would do. So you would figure if Kawhi stayed, maybe Danny would stay. And so you're like in this wait and see. And so now he's in this wait and see with Ben. But I think obviously it's very clear if Ben comes back, that's going to be awkward. Okay, let's just give this situation that he's asking for and see what happens. Give him to, figure out a way in which you can set him up in a right situation for himself, but also a better situation for yourself as well as a team, and just move forward. Cut the ties. Damn, this is a toxic relationship.
You can't go back. It's one of those.
You can't go back. This is
literally
toxic.
Cannot walk back in that school after
toxic.
You pranked your teacher like you did. We've talked a lot about hoops, but I want to know more about you and your story, Kayla, because it has been really just wonderful to watch it evolve, watch you on Twitter being such an advocate for Black women, for Black broadcasters, and for yourself. You know, you've made history by being the first Black woman to anchor a national highlight show. And in Canada, like from my experience being there, there's not a lot of diversity on television and in media, which I found so surprising, because I've always felt Canada is more progressive than the United States. But when it comes to representation in television, it seems as though it's completely opposite from that. Have you noticed, or in what way have you noticed, any changes since you have been in this role?
I wish I could see more. I'll be very honest with you. And I have no problem saying that. I'm straight up about the fact that I just feel like the momentum, I feel like what had happened was 2020, where there was a lot of conversations about diversity in media, in particular in Canada. And there was a lot of talking and jawing, and we're going to do this and XYZ, and we have these tangible items. And here we are in 2022 now, when I'm just like, so where are we at, guys? Where's the progress support? And I think what the issue is this pandemic. And the easiest thing to say is, well, we just don't have the budget right now, or, well, we just don't this. And I'm just like, you know, at some point that can no longer be an excuse. So while I have seen like new faces, which I love, and, new people getting opportunity, I think where I'm most focused with my energy is like less talking, more doing. So that's why I created the shift. I'm just like, listen, I just want to come up with something that like I want to see and I think could resonate with an audience, and maybe that inspires someone somewhere to do their own thing. But I think like when we get down to the business of it, welcoming in a bunch of diverse faces is great. But like, we also have to talk about like retention. How are we making those faces feel safe? What does the growth look like? Because I feel like sometimes you're going to see at an entry level base, you're going to see a lot of new faces, but there's no plan for growth. There's no plan for evolution. There's no plan for them to enter the C-suite. So I think there's still a lot of work to do, but it's laborious. And guess what, Julie, you know this, some people don't like to work. So that's where we're at right now in Canada.
Yeah, what would you, I mean, you are, from what I would know and see, the only Black woman on television nationally in Canada.
Yeah, I think, and nationally on a consistent basis, I think, obviously Perdita, she holds it down for CBC Sports around like Olympics time and stuff too. But yeah, I think in this space, it predominantly, I guess, would be me. Yeah. Right.
And in sports, and like for women, for younger women and younger girls who I'm sure reach out to you, young Black women who want to be the next Kayla Gray, like what kind of questions do they ask you, and what kind of advice do you give them?
What's like the most heartbreaking is a lot of it is appearances and how they talk. And I totally get it, because I feel like sometimes you have to almost create this like cheat code of like, how do I make people feel comfortable with me first entering through the doors, and then being able to wow them with what I can do? And, for me, what I try to respond with is like, no, we're not doing that anymore. Because I used to do that, where I used to, maybe change how I talked a little bit, dress a little bit, more traditionally professional, I guess, so that people wouldn't like, maybe she shouldn't be in this space. And what it did, who it robbed the most was me. And then eventually it robbed, people that I work with and people that watch me of who I am and my magic and my light. And so, what I tell people, encourage them, is to just show up as themselves authentically. And I think when you start telling stories from that place, beautiful, great things happen. So, unfortunately, I think we're still at a place where like young girls coming in feel like they have to maneuver or shift or kind of jump through hoops in order to get into certain spaces. And so that's what I'm hearing from, people coming in. But hopefully we're getting to a place where they can just show up as is.
Right, where the decision makers and the people in charge understand the need for change, and for understanding the diversity that is so paramount in sports, and having the different backgrounds and the different voices. And, even I had women in Canada message me who are Black, who are like, I the only role model I have is Kayla Gray. Like, we need more people here. And I found that so sad. Like, they were asking me, oh, are women in the States, because there's more Black women on TV here that can also, you know, help me navigate this world. And I was like, wow, that is like, that hurts my heart so much. And I
would illegally stream ESPN. Please don't come for me, anybody. Just so I could watch like Lisa Salters, who's like my GOAT. You know, there just was nobody up here. So I would have to like stream to find Black women in these streets doing it. And so that's how I, you know, how I got inspired.
With your show, The Shift, just curious about, you know, you're the executive producer, you're the host. What do you hope people take from it when they watch it?
Ooh, geez, that our trauma, and especially for Black History Month, I don't want to see this, that our trauma is the only thing that qualifies our content. I think what we've been seeing since 2020, but also in general, when you look at like movies centered around, say, slavery, which obviously it's important to tell that story. Those are the ones mostly up for the accolades, right? Like, I feel like our trauma has been so glamorized that sometimes we forget to highlight our joy and highlight how we're contributing to the world in spaces and in culture. And I think when we shy away from that, we rob kids of dreaming, of seeing what they can do and how they can take up space. Everybody that knows me knows that I have this like massive, it's not a crush, but just admiration of like a Nigel Sylvester, right? Who's like a creative. Obviously, he's in the BMX space, which is predominantly white, but he's in the fashion space, but he's also in the content creation. And I think that's so important for like my son to see, that you can be multiple things and you can contribute to culture in so many different ways. And it's important for me to share our history, yes, but also our future, and our current and our now. And I think that that's what I love about The Shift, is what we're doing is we are trying to spotlight who we are as people, what we like, what we do, and how we can authentically show up as ourselves and be successful as a show. And so, yeah, that was basically like when I was really frustrated at a time of like, you know, people keep doing too much talking about what we're going to see change wise. Let me try and figure that out with my show. So I would jot down notes on napkins of like what I wanted it to look like. And the first thing was like, it needs to be authentic. It needs to be joy. Because I was just so tired at that point of just seeing pain. So yeah, hopefully that's what people take away from it.
Subscribe to the Fubo Sports YouTube page for clips and full episodes. Follow us at Fubo Sports on all social media channels. Also available in podcast form wherever you find your favorite pods.
Kayla, you are an impressive woman. I congratulate and salute you. Cheers to everything.
A little buzz, that 10-something
you've accomplished. So proud that you are a fellow Canadian and everything that you've done.
Well, thanks for holding down the fort, truly. And this spicy margarita is good. Not to like give myself props, but at 10-something.
You're like, I'm also pretty good at mixing this drink. And also you're casually a mom, which we hadn't even had a chance to discuss. But Kayla is a mother. She's a working mom. She's, you know, trying to change the history in Canada right now and doing an amazing job at it. So cheers to you. And, you know, thank you so much for drinking and binking with us here today. Where can we find you next?
Ooh, everywhere. No, I'm kidding. So it's at Kayla_Gray on Twitter, on Instagram, on all the places. And yeah, hopefully we'll be talking about season 2 of The Shift and covering a long Raptors playoff run.
Guys, you know where to find all of our social media content on Twitter and Instagram at Fubo Sports, and as well as all of our other episodes of Drinks with Binks on YouTube, Fubo Sports. You can check it out. And until next time, bottoms up, bitches.